I can't really say that I was expecting a lot when I started digging into the church that the Kardashian family owns and runs, the California Community Church. But boy, somehow I still ended up surprised as I dug into it. Yes, for those who don't know, the Kardashian family, headed by Kris Jenner here, run a small community church in California called the California Community Church. And members of that church pay $1,000 a month to be a part of it, and they tithe at least 10% of their income. And for a long, long time, there have been a lot of rumors that have circled this church, specifically the tax implications around it. But when I started digging, I got to tell you, it was way dodgier than that. You see, for me, the really questionable stuff starts right here with Brad Scott Johnson, who is the head of the California Community Church, hand-selected by Kris Jenner herself. Now, what could possibly be so dodgy about a pastor selected by the Kardashians? To understand that, you really have to understand what happened at his last church. You see, Johnson was involved in a huge scandal at his church. He basically had an affair. He cheated on his wife for a long, long time. The entire pulpit felt hugely betrayed by him, and then his wife also had money issues, and it was a whole thing. This is a quote from one of his former parishioners at the Calvary church that he was at that said, "His action created a tremendous amount of resentment and hurt. Leadership has a higher calling. It's a huge deal." The parishioners also described themselves as feeling defrauded by Johnson as their pastor. Johnson's infidelities were exposed. He supposedly, according to the story he tells, tried to end his life 3 times in this really public whole display. So by 2008, Johnson was basically living as a ruined man somewhere in California, and he never expected himself to take up a leadership position in the church again. But then Kris and Bruce popped up out of nowhere while he was working at Starbucks and said, "Hey, you want to be the pastor at our new church?" Which is like, why would you go and seek out someone who was ruined by a scandal of their own making to go and be the head of your church? Very odd. Another odd thing about him and his relationship to the church, especially as a man of God, is that before the Kardashians picked him up, he was just living in a little modest townhouse, and now he lives in an $850,000 spread in Thousand Oaks. Wow, the favor of the Lord and no taxes, huh? But here's really the dodgiest part of this church for me, the pastor's side, and that is the tax rumors that have circulated around this church for years and years and years. You see, critics of the Kardashians believe that they potentially, allegedly, use this church to avoid paying taxes on their income. And that would make sense when you understand that in America, churches don't have to pay taxes, and they have the option to even show their taxes publicly. Moreover, those who tithe to the churches can reduce the amount of taxes they pay by 60% to 100% if the tithes that they make to the church are in cash. And the church itself, who doesn't have to pay taxes on anything except basically payroll, has already been in tax trouble with the U.S. government. Go figure, a Kardashian institution having tax troubles? In 2012, the church, which was going by a different name then, it was going by the Life Change Community Church, got slapped with a big old tax lien in unpaid taxes, which was, again, probably for payroll. And then guess what? They got hit again with another tax lien. After that, they changed their name and they sealed up the records. While churches in the U.S. can and usually do share their taxes, their financial statements publicly with their pulpit, surprise, surprise, the Kardashian church does not. And what's really interesting when you look into this is that in regards to the tax stuff, in California, if you run money through a church, it's counted as a charitable donation, which means it's a write-off, it's untaxable income that you basically, it's like kind of like having free money. And that's funny because Kim makes her charitable donations by doing things like putting her eBay sales through the church. So allegedly, potentially, if she were to make certain amounts on eBay and that money were to go directly into the church, she could get it back from the church without paying the taxes on it that she rightfully owes. Dodgy. Kim appears to do this a lot, right? It's not just like eBay auctions. There's all kinds of charity auctions that happen where basically they get to run their profits right through the church. Allegedly, according to IRS documents that you can go and look up. I don't know. What do you think? A church you have to pay $1,000 a month to be a member of, that you have to tithe at least 10% of your income to, and which could provide substantial tax write-offs when you run your eBay charity auctions through them. What do you think? Let me know in the comments and follow for more.